Hi, this is Jason from Horrific Nightmares, and it's time for a controversial view. Today we're going to be talking about Spiral from the Book of Saul, or just Spiral. Now, one of the reasons why we did this is because it's around July the 4th, and this actually starts on July the 4th at a parade and proceeds from there. So, there's a reason for our madness. Now, my history with Spiral. I am a huge fan of the Saw series. And when I was looking at the ratings on IMDb, which I'm almost thinking people should never do anymore because people are very mean. But in general, I was looking at the overall scores, and this is rated as the lowest Saw movie, which is very surprising since I remember when Saw the Final Chapter or Saw 3D came out, people just trashed it. Actually, people trash most things. It's actually kind of sad. Jigsaw they trashed, and all of those have a higher score than Spiral. So anyway, my history with this is I saw it when it came out. I was fortunate enough to find it at a thrift store shortly after it came out, and I'm just going to tell you now, I love this movie. I could have just said everything's a positive in this film and just let the video be what it is, but I'm not going to do that. Um, because this has the lowest score, let's put a positive spin on Spiral. Now, the beginning, carnival slash parade, anything that has a carnival or parade in it, I'm pretty much down for, even regular movies. It doesn't even have to be horror. It's just some of my preferences in film. I appreciate the new voice, and I know a lot of people have a problem with that. I appreciate the new voice and the pig mask because it shows that they're using the foundation of the film that came before or the films that came before it, but they're willing to try something a little bit new because this is a whole new game. This is a different killer, a copycat killer, which they say several times in the film. And you do find out who the killer is at the end. I don't want to spoil it because I'm not a fan of spoiling films, but most people who have seen the Saw movies have probably seen this one as well. So, um, I think Chris Rock is awesome in this. Now, this was something that took me a while because the first time I watched this film, it was hard for me to see Chris Rock as a rough and tough cop. It always sounded like he was trying to make a joke. But then I realized as you go a little bit more into the film, it like bothered me for like the first 10 minutes. And then after that, it was fine because after you get past that 10 minutes and you start getting into the characters, you just find that that's just the way he talks. That's his character in the film. And that's pretty much Chris Rock. You either accept it or you don't. And I find that every time that I've watched this since, I've liked this movie more simply because I don't think Chris Rock is out of place in this film. Um, Zeke, which is Chris Rock's character, his motivation of why the whole police force is after him is an interesting part of the film, and I'm not going to say what it is. Um, like I said, I don't like to spoil things, but if you've seen it, you know his motivation, and it makes for an interesting side story for the film. I like the relationship between Zeke and William, his partner, the rookie. Um, I don't know. I just like their buddy cop sort of relationship. He starts out like Dirty Harry, like I don't want a partner. All my partners end up dead. And throughout the film, he gains a respect for William as his partner. All right. Samuel L. Jackson is really good in this as his father. You can almost believe it because they both have very loud personalities. So it goes well that he's his father in this. And I also like his side story, which you find out later on in the film. The kills are inventive and awesome. My favorite being the kill with the spinal cord and the wax. Those of you who have seen it know exactly what I'm talking about. And I think it's brutal and fantastic. That's my favorite kill, but I like them all because they're all trying to say something, just like the other Saw films. Um, I love the editing. I think the editing's fantastic when he's, especially when he's going to try to stop the killer in the kill I just described. I just think it's a fantastic scene and the way it's edited. Um, the part with the meth dealers is one of my favorites, and I think it's hysterically funny. Um, which is good because you're able to see Chris Rock in his natural element. There's a lot of funny stuff in here, sometimes intentional, sometimes I don't think it was. But, you know, it's almost like don't forget the fact that Chris Rock is a comedian, but he is playing a serious role. So I like the dynamic. Chris Rock is a Saw fan, and I think he gave us one hell of a film. And that I appreciate a lot because, whether you like this film or not, he came from the place where he was a big fan of this film and wanted to see it continue. I hope, and I have said this before in streams, but I do hope that this film actually um, meshes in with some of the other lore in Saw, and it can be done. It'd be a little bit difficult, but it can be done. I love the constant misdirection in this film, which you know, police investigation, misdirection. I just think it's done extremely well. And the last thing I'm going to say, and this is something that I know that Joe's going to touch on as well. I'm not going to say much about it. I'll let him describe it a little bit more. But when that music goes on at the end and you're learning the reason for everything and the ins and outs of everything that's happened in this film, it always gives me chills. I think it's so cool. I love the way they put these movies together, and I just think this movie's fantastic. So, if you're one of the people that don't particularly care for Saw or Spiral, but you like the Saw franchise, give it another shot. I think you might be a little bit surprised. It took me a few views for this to become one of my favorites, but I always liked it. So, like I said, give it a shot or don't. But don't forget to check out Joe's positive spin for Spiral. Remember, guys, physical media matters. And until next time, peace.